Confession of a Hollywood movie star, the naked truth about love. I have been many things in my life, an icon, a fantasy, a headline, a rumor wrapped in designer suits and red carpet smiles. I have been called the face of a generation, the last true heartthrob, the man who made audiences believe in love again. But behind the lights, behind the trailers and the applause that roars like an ocean, I have always been something far more ordinary and far more fragile. A person searching for love, often clumsily, often desperately, sometimes beautifully. This is not the story my publicist would approve. It is not the story that sells movie tickets or fragrances. This is the naked truth, not of bodies, but of hearts. About love as I lived it, loved it, lost it, and learned from it in the unforgiving theater of Hollywood. The making of a myth. Before the premieres and paparazzi, I was a boy with a borrowed jacket and a borrowed dream. I arrived in Los Angeles with a suitcase that smelled like my mother's laundry soap and a head full of movie scenes I had watched on repeat. Love, in those films, was clean and certain. It arrived on cue. It ended with a kiss that promised forever. When the first role changed my life, love changed too, at least the way it was offered. Suddenly, strangers loved me loudly. They loved my smile, my voice, the way I looked into a camera. Their love was intoxicating and hollow all at once. It taught me the first great lesson of fame: admiration is not intimacy. I learned to perform affection long before I learned how to sustain it. Romance number 1. The co-star who felt like destiny. My first great Hollywood romance began the way all myths do, with coincidence masquerading as fate. She was my co-star, brilliant and fearless, with laughter that cracked open rooms. On screen, we were electric. Off screen, we were inevitable. The world watched us fall in love in real time. Magazines counted our smiles. Fans stitched our names together as if they had always belonged that way. We believed it too, or maybe we wanted to. Behind closed doors, love felt like a refuge from the chaos outside. We wrote notes to each other on hotel stationery, folded small enough to fit into pockets during long shooting days. I still have some of those letters, ink smudged, words rushed, hearts unguarded. But love born under a spotlight grows strange roots. We were never alone. Every argument echoed louder because it was imagined by millions. Every silence became a headline. When the film wrapped, so did the illusion. Without the script, we struggled to find our lines. We didn't end in a scandal. We ended in exhaustion. The longing behind the smile. People think heartbreak is loud. They imagine smashed glasses, slammed doors, dramatic exits. Mine was quiet. It lived in hotel rooms that all looked the same. It showed up in award speeches where I thanked everyone except the person I missed most. I became very good at smiling through longing. On talk shows, I joked about being married to my work. The audience laughed. Inside, I was mourning the simplicity of being loved without conditions. Loneliness in Hollywood is a peculiar thing. You can be surrounded by people and starved for touch. You can be desired endlessly and known not at all. Romance number 2. The private love that felt real. After my first public heartbreak, I swung the pendulum hard in the other direction. I fell in love with someone far from the industry, someone who didn't care about box office numbers or opening weekends. With her, I was just a man who forgot to buy milk and burned toast. We kept our relationship secret for nearly 2 years. No red carpets, no joint appearances, just dinners cooked at home and long drives with the windows down. It was, in many ways, the healthiest love I had ever known. But secrecy has a cost. Hiding felt like lying, even when it was meant to protect. She grew tired of living in the margins of my life. I grew tired of splitting myself in two. Love needs air. Ours suffocated. When it ended, there were no headlines. That hurt more than I expected. Grief without witnesses can feel unreal, like it never happened at all. Letters never sent. I am a writer of letters. Always have been. In moments when speaking felt too dangerous, I wrote. Some letters were sent. Many were not. There is one letter I wrote to the woman from my first great love, years after we had gone our separate ways. I wrote about forgiveness, hers and mine. I wrote about the man I had become and the boy she once loved. I folded the letter carefully and left it in a drawer. I never mailed it. Sometimes, love doesn't need an audience or even a response. Sometimes, it just needs to be acknowledged. The illusion of moving on. Hollywood loves a comeback story, even in romance. After a breakup, I was often photographed, moving on, with someone new before I had even finished grieving the last love. The truth is less glamorous. Dating became a distraction, a way to outrun silence. I mistook chemistry for connection. I confused desire with devotion. In doing so, I hurt people who didn't deserve to be rehearsals for my healing. If there is one regret that weighs heavily, it is this: love should never be used as anesthesia. Romance number 3. The love that changed the rules. Not all love stories end in loss. Some end in transformation. I met her later in life, when the frenzy had slowed and the noise had softened. She was accomplished in her own right, uninterested in my mythology. She asked questions I couldn't dodge and listened without trying to fix me. We fell in love not in a blaze, but in a steady warmth. No grand declarations, just consistency. She taught me that real love is less about intensity and more about endurance. We broke up once, quietly, painfully, honestly. Time passed. We lived separate lives. And then, in a twist that no screenwriter could sell, we found our way back. Our reunion wasn't dramatic. It was a conversation over coffee that lasted 6 hours. We spoke about fear, about timing, about the ways we had failed each other. When we left that cafe, something had shifted. Love, I learned, can mature if you let it. The cost of being desired. Being labeled a heartthrob is a strange curse. It flattens you into a symbol. People project their fantasies onto you and are disappointed when you turn out to be human. I have been loved for how I look, for what I represent, for the roles I play. Being loved for who I am took much longer. True intimacy arrived only when I stopped performing. When I admitted my fears, of aging, of irrelevance, of not being enough without the applause. Love met me there, unadorned. What the cameras never caught. They never caught the nights I stayed up rereading old messages, tracing the arc of a relationship through emojis and punctuation. They never caught the mornings when I woke up alone in houses that echoed. They never caught the quiet joy of reconciliation. The way a familiar hand can feel new again after time apart. They never caught the courage it takes to say, I was wrong. I still care. Can we try again? Those moments don't trend, but they matter. The enduring power of love. Celebrity drama suggests that love is fragile in this world. I disagree. Love is resilient. It survives contracts and schedules, rumors and reinventions. What breaks is not love itself, but our willingness to be present. I have learned that love is not something you fall into once and keep forever without effort. It is something you choose repeatedly, especially when it would be easier not to. If there is a truth I wish I had known earlier, it is this: the greatest romance of your life may not look cinematic. It may look like forgiveness. It may look like patience. It may look like coming home tired and still being welcomed. A final confession. I am no longer interested in being a fantasy. I am interested in being honest. Love, stripped of its illusions, is messy and demanding and profoundly worth it. It asks you to be brave without an audience, to be loyal without applause, to be vulnerable without guarantees. I have loved loudly and poorly, quietly and well. I have loved in ways that taught me who I was and who I needed to become. And if the world insists on remembering me as a face on a screen, I hope somewhere, someone remembers that I tried, earnestly, imperfectly, to love like a real person. This is my confession, not of scandal, but of sincerity. Not of conquest, but of connection. And in the end, that is the only role I ever truly wanted to play.